This client insistently wanted to know what it would cost for him and his wife to guarantee a $400,000 per year lifetime income stream. And honestly, I was blown away by how relatively inexpensive that actually is, given how much they'll be receiving. Check it out. Welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steven Spicer. I'm a certified financial planner, and I've helped hundreds of clients work through their retirement goals and dreams. Now, this was the first time, though, that I had somebody so insistent on figuring out how they could guarantee this lifetime income stream. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this client. He was very conservative, and that's not uncommon, but he felt very strongly that he didn't have to risk losing money in order to provide him with the guarantees that he was wanting. Now, his situation is absolutely unique, but it can apply in different ways to a lot of people, so don't check out as soon as you realize what's happening to him. He's about to receive a massive inheritance, tens of millions of dollars. And so he wanted to guarantee this income stream, and he didn't want it to be a risk. With the amount of money he was receiving, that seemed entirely reasonable and achievable. So we went to work looking through his options. Now, I knew that the traditional buy and hold stock and bond only approach, which, as you know, if you've kept up with any of my stuff, I hate that approach. But I knew that as he talked to other advisors, as he was trying to find the best advisor for his situation, that they would present, many of them at least, would present him with a stock and bond only portfolio. They would show him the potential that it could grow to over time, and they would talk to him about some variation probably of the 4% rule, that he could comfortably take out of that account 4% per year and make it last for indefinitely. Now, of course, that's just a rough rule of thumb, so it could be more or less than this, but in order to guarantee him that $400,000 per year, at 4%, so 400,000 divided by 0.04, he would need $10 million. So $10 million would need to be dedicated to providing that level of income. Now, he was getting more than that, and so he could, in theory, have a greater income than that. He would need to pull a smaller percentage of his money. That traditional model, which exposed him to downside risk, right? There's significant downside risks when looking at the stock and bond only portfolio. And the solution that mainstream advisors have is to just wait it out, cross your fingers and hope that it works out. Because historically it always has. I get it. It's a good story, but I knew he would be uncomfortable with that. He didn't like the ebbs and flows, and he felt very strongly when I spoke with him, he felt very strongly that he didn't have to suffer through that. So he didn't want to, if at all possible. And he felt like it was possible, and I agreed, but I knew he would hate that. So whenever we sat down with him and went through all of this in detail over a couple days, all of the different options that he had, he, at the end of that conversation, told me about the dozens of other advisors that he had met with, and all of them apparently had gone with that approach. So that's probably what you're running into if you're trying to figure this out for yourself, trying to figure out what your options are for guaranteeing an income stream in your lifetime. And he expressed so much appreciation for the approach that we took him through, and so much frustration at people apparently not listening to his concerns about not wanting exposure to downside risk, because everyone presented him with that stock and bond only portfolio. So the approach that we took him through was, first, I want to understand the risks. I want him to understand the risks. And so we go through all the different risks to which he's exposed. And then I want him to understand the various vehicles that he has available to him based on his unique situation that are going to be the best fit for his situation. There were about 11 or 12 that we took him through. And then we put together a few scenarios, just options, hypothetical options of how he could structure this inheritance in order to accomplish all of his goals. And specifically in this video, we're talking about income, but he had some other goals as well, legacy and things like that. So in the most conservative of all those scenarios that we took him through, we met him with his $400,000 income goal, and we looked at that very literally. What would it cost to guarantee this? Not just have a 4% withdrawal rate, but to guarantee this. And the only way to do that, to get a guaranteed contract for income, is through an annuity. A lot of people hate annuities, and I totally understand. We'll talk about that in a second, where I used to be with annuities, because I used to be probably where you are today. I used to hate them, But that's the only way that we can get this guaranteed lifetime income stream. Now, we have some tax considerations to worry about. This client was only 48. He was young, receiving a lot of money. His wife is only 40. So potentially it's going to go on for a long time. But they can't start most annuities today without incurring some sort of tax penalty. And we obviously don't want that. They're going to have to wait until they're over 59 and a half. So about 12 years before they can start pulling from some sort of deferred income annuity. So we broke it into two categories. What is it going to cost for him to have this $400,000 from that point on, from year 12 on? And then we can ask, well, what do we need to do to fill this gap? So let's start with what's it going to cost for year 12 on. So at age 59 and a half, he starts taking this $400,000 income guaranteed every year for as long as he lives and as long as his wife lives. So no matter how long they live, 90, 100, as long as one of them is alive, they are receiving $400,000 every single year. I found the best deferred fixed index annuity that I could find that would fit that objective for him in his unique scenario after sifting through dozens of different options. And the one that I found for them was going to cost him and his wife $4.1 million in order to guarantee that $400,000 a year from year 12 on for as long as either one of them would live. So there you go. 4.1 million was that future number. Not crazy. It's a fixed index annuity, which we don't have to get into the details there, but that means it could, if the markets perform well, it could end up being higher than that. But that's not even what we're talking about here. This is not even a projection. This is the guaranteed number. This is their bottom line, what they are guaranteeing will happen. This is the contractual guarantee between this client and the insurance company. So yeah, $4.1 million of his inheritance out of pocket to guarantee $400,000 a year every year for the rest of his life, starting 12 years from now, starting after he's 59 and a half, once he surpasses that government tax hurdle. Pretty cool. He thought it was cool and was blown away that nobody had talked to him about this option, or at least nothing near as good as this. So then on the other side, we needed to fill that gap. He really wanted to. It's not as big of a deal. There was plenty of money that we could have pulled from with withdrawals from to secure that 11-year period. But he wanted a guaranteed income stream, so he wanted us to look into those options as well. And single premium immediate annuities, SPIAs, don't, when you use them in this way, don't have that same tax penalty. You should consult your tax person, your CPA, if you have questions about this. Don't rely on what I'm saying here, but they don't have that tax penalty for withdrawing before 59 and a half, as long as they start immediately. And so to get a single premium immediate annuity for $400,000 a year over the next 11 years, it was going to cost him $3.6 million. We didn't recommend this. That's what he ultimately wanted, but we told him that there were other things he could do for that money. Really, it was the unpredictability of the year 12 on. Who knows how long both of you are going to live, and so that $400,000, if that was important to him, that was the most important piece. But he wanted that guarantee. He just wanted that paycheck, $400,000 a year coming in every year. So that's where that $3.6 million that covered that gap, that 11-year gap. So in other words, for $7.7 million, he was able to, from the moment he received his inheritance, start receiving a $400,000 guaranteed income for the rest of his life and his spouse's life, who's quite a bit younger than him. And then he had been used to living off of $200,000 a year, somewhere around there. So he was already planning on this being way too much for him. He was going to take way more trips. He was going to do more things, but he thought on the whole, this would be too much for him over time. So now he has all the rest of his inheritance that he gets to do other things with. And that may come up in other videos. We can talk about it further if you're interested. I just wanted to talk about this income piece, but that freed up all the rest of his money. I was surprised, honestly, at how much less it is than the $10 million that would be needed for the traditional mainstream investment advice of the 4% withdrawal rate. That ends up being a roughly 5.2%, but like I said, this isn't exactly what I would have recommended to him. That SPIA portion, the next 11 years, that's what he wanted to do. There are a lot of options, but on the whole, I thought that was really interesting, trying to figure out how much it costs for various amounts. And this number is relatively scalable. So if you're trying to figure this out for you and you happen to be exactly 48 and your spouse is 40, then this is applicable. You can divide this number in half, and that's what you would need. So, a little bit less than $4 million if you were trying to provide yourself with a $200,000 a year annual income every year for the rest of your life, or less than $2 million if you're trying to provide yourself with a $100,000 a year annual income for the rest of your life. Pretty much none of you, I'm assuming, are going to be in that exact scenario. Maybe some of you are, and that's fine. But if you're older, which is generally when you're making these types of decisions, it's going to be cheaper. You have less years to live, less years that the insurance company is on the hook, that the annuity company is on the hook to guarantee you this income. Yeah, I thought it would at least be interesting, maybe valuable for some of you, to know what that would look like, what that would take to guarantee that level of income. It could be $50,000. This doesn't have to be all of the income that you're planning on receiving. You also have Social Security and other sources of income. But if you wanted to guarantee $50,000 a year, now you have a rough model for how much it might cost. And of course, scenarios are gonna be different. Your age is gonna be different over time as interest rates change. These numbers are gonna be different. I always like to have some number in my head as I start to work these things out for myself before you talk to a professional or whoever it might be that helps you work through these options that you have. I hope you find that helpful or at least interesting. I found it super interesting and wanted to share. If you have other specific examples that you'd like to dig into further, or specific questions, let me know in the comments. And if you're hesitant at all about annuities, as I was when I first wrote my book, Stop Investing Like They Tell You, I was pretty opposed to them, but I've since done a lot of research. If you're hesitant, then you should definitely check out this video. I'll walk you through all of it. I'll see you there.